ladies and gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, guys, I'm checking out an animated film from 1986. That movie is When the Wind Blows. Now, the only thing, guys, I can tell you about this movie is it has to do with a couple surviving a nuclear attack. Now, I know that probably sounds a little bit dark to some of you, but you have to understand that back in the 1980s, that was a huge fear, and there were quite a few films made which touched on it, of which I have only had the opportunity to see one, and that is the U.S. television film The Day After. I have not seen Threads, I have not seen Barefoot Jen, I have not seen When the Wind Blows. I heard about When the Wind Blows probably about a decade ago, and I've been really interested in checking it out. I couldn't find a copy anywhere. I couldn't find a copy on DVD, I couldn't find a copy on VHS. Then all of a sudden, a small company called Twilight Time put it out on Blu-ray. And I jumped at it the moment that I saw it. And now tonight, I finally get my chance to see if this thing is any good. I have high hopes, guys, because, well, I can tell you right now, just simply based on the plot, this thing is probably going to be an incredibly depressing film, and I'm totally looking forward to that. I have heard nothing but positive things about this movie. I'm certainly hoping for it to be great, and the only way I'm going to find out is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out When the Wind Blows. Are they seriously taking out of a pamphlet that you can make a fallout shelter with doors and cushions? You're gonna need a little bit more than doors and cushions, guys, in order to stop a nuclear blast from fucking with you. Wow, that is just almost terrifying to think you could build a fallout shelter out of that. Jesus Christ. You know, guys, now when I went into this movie, I had no idea we were going to see this kind of like blending of animated characters and live action setting. I honestly had no idea that was a part of this movie. I'm going to tell you, it really does add a fascinating look to the film. I'm really, really liking it. You know, guys, it actually is kind of sort of it actually kind of makes you feel you know, good that this couple was able to survive a nuclear blast, and they're still able to keep their, you know, spirits up. That honestly something I don't think I would be able to do if I was caught in a fucking blast and had to stay in a shelter for 2 weeks. I would probably be driven fucking nuts. Alright, guys, I guess I should say this. I was totally expecting this movie to be dark and bleak, depressing, all that. But guys, just all of the scenes of just all the carnage that this blast caused is probably some of the... Oh, okay, and now we get to see a dove as it slowly dies of radiation poisoning. Yeah, okay, yeah, that just made everything a fuckload worse. This is probably one of the bleakest things I have ever seen, guys. This is... wow. This is just tragic. And I understand that that's what they were shooting for, but my God, I honestly think that they hit the nail a bit too hard on the fucking head. You know what I mean? Wow. Guys, I'm gonna tell you. I kind of figured this was going to feature our only two characters in this whole film succumbing to radiation poisoning. I was absolutely expecting it to be tragic. But once more, this movie took my friggin' expectations, and it has far surpassed them. This, guys, is so this is beyond heartbreaking, man. This is... my God, man, this is just fucking depressing as shit. Well, guys, that was When the Wind Blows. Jesus God almighty. Let me shut that off. Okay. Wow. You know, guys, it really does say a lot. I went into this thing. I knew going in it was going to be a bleak film. It was going to be a depressing movie. I knew that going in. I thought I was tempered for it. I thought I was ready for anything. And then this movie just gets darker and darker. More shit happens. It becomes more and more depressing with every passing scene. And just when you think you've hit the bottom of the barrel, it just keeps digging further. And you just begin to feel miserable. You feel horrible for these two people. You feel absolute sorrow for them. That, guys, is a sign that the writing here was amazing. Guys, I've seen a lot of depressing films, okay? I've sat through Grave of the Fireflies at least 6 times. I bawl like a bitch every single time. I've watched The Day After at least 4 times. It still rips my heart out of my chest and shows it to me. Millennium Actress did almost the very same thing. I thought I could take anything. And then this movie shows up and shows you that there's no hope at all. That if you get caught in an atomic blast, that's it. Game over. And I knew that going in. I mean, because I grew up in the 80s. I kind of had to deal with all of the Cold War, nuclear terror, fear shit. But still, this movie shows such a realistic take on what would happen if the English countryside were hit with an atomic bomb, and exactly how one couple would have to deal with it if they follow all of the governmental rules that were sent out in pamphlets which apparently talk about how you can build a proper fallout shelter with wooden doors and couch cushions. Oh God. And you watch as they attempt to survive. You watch as they run out of water, so they have to start collecting rainwater. And any viewer watching it will know that that is probably some of the worst water you could ever drink. At least they had the common sense to boil it first, but it still didn't help them. I'm going to tell you guys right now, this movie does not end on a happy note. There's no way in hell it ever could. The fact is, guys, realistically, this thing tells you pretty much what would happen if you happen to win the worst lottery in the world and you survive an atomic blast. What the hell your life would be like. How your home would probably look. And it does it so well. And you are going to feel miserable. You're going to feel terrible. But you're not going to be able to stop watching because the story is that compelling. Our two characters are so likable. And when they begin to show the signs of radiation poisoning, when they begin to succumb to the fallout, oh my God, you feel even worse. Oh my God. Okay, so writing here is awesome in terms of trying to realistically show you what would happen in this sort of situation. We have a cast of 2 characters. That's it. Barring things like newscasters on the radio, that we have only a cast of 2 people. These 2 people are a middle-aged couple, retired couple living in the English countryside. And you watch as they attempt to rebuild and they attempt to survive from this bomb blast. And the 2 of them are so likable. You are going to fall in love with both of these characters that when things begin to go downhill, and my God, does it ever go down fucking hill, you feel terrible for them. You feel honest to God sorrow. Guys, the last time I felt this much anguish over the suffering of a fictional character is when I watched Johnny Got His Gun. And that thing brought me to tears. I guys, am so depressed, I can't even fucking cry. This movie, by all rights, should have had me in... No. It is that bleak. I can't bring myself to tears. And goddamn it, I would feel a fuckload better if I could. So anyway, our characters are incredibly likable. Part of that has to do with the acting. The acting from our two stars is so amazing. Both of them seem to almost get lost in their roles, and my God, it is perfect. The both of them work off of each other and play off of each other so well, and their banter sounds so natural. You would almost think that the two people cast actually were a married couple who'd been married for 35, 40 years. That's how good the chemistry is. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, if we didn't have that kind of chemistry, this whole movie would have been a lost cause. These two bring everything to life. And sometimes I kind of wish that they didn't do such a good job of it, because I feel horrible right now. Anyway, so our acting here is just fantastic. Special effects. I mentioned earlier the fact that this movie is blending animation and live action, and when I say that, what I mean is, in most shots, the only things that are animated are our two leads and anything that they are physically holding on to. Everything else is a model, and it looks fantastic. When we have a character moving, the camera has to move, and you can see the camera as it's sweeping through this model of their home, and the character is animated in just such a way that it looks flawless. All right, and I think the reason why they did that, the reason why they went with the model of the house, is so that way when the bomb hits, and you just see everything just fly away. You see, as James had this like dresser propped up against a window, because that's what one of the two pamphlets said, was to barricade the windows. The first thing you see when the bomb blast, when the shockwave finally gets to their home, is that dresser exploding away from the window, and it looks amazing. You see all of this detail, and it looks even better when either of them are trying to sweep, and the character is animated, the broom is animated, but all of the glass and the wood and the everything that is on the ground is not. And you will see them sweep, and the stop motion on getting all of that fucking debris to move is spectacularly done. It is masterful stop motion. I had no idea, guys, I was going to be able to talk about stop motion while talking about this movie. But it looks so good. I would love to say that all of it looks good, but there is a couple of shots where it doesn't look that good, you see, because when our two characters are inside of their fallout shelter, again, made out of wooden doors and couch cushions, and they're covered up and they're trying to sleep, the blanket itself is just like photos of a blanket, and if they happen to move it, then it basically switches to a different photo and the blanket's been shifted a little bit. And it looks kind of sort of jarring. That's probably, though, done on purpose. So I can't really fault it outside of it just looks a little bit off. So guys, stop motion here is amazing. Our models look awesome. Everything about this movie looks beautiful. Soundtrack. There really isn't a whole lot of a soundtrack here. Now, the credits on the back of the Blu-ray case mention that this has music from David Bowie and Roger Waters and Genesis, amongst other bands. And I'm going to tell you, was it Bowie who did the title song? Yes. David Bowie did the title song, and Roger Waters does the score for this film. What very, very little score is actually hearable here. Both of them do a fantastic job. I didn't hear Genesis in here at all. I didn't hear any of the other artists that are mentioned. I don't know if perhaps maybe they were just heard as they were like flipping around on the radio like way early on in the film. I'm going to tell you though, Waters turned in a fantastic score. What little score is really hear and noticeable. And David Bowie's song over the opening credits was awesome. This movie, sound mix. I do have to comment on sound mix. I don't know if it's the Blu-ray. I don't know if it's just the company that coded it. There's something a little bit off about the sound. And when I say that, I mean that there are certain scenes where dialogue or music or even sound effects sound ridiculously tinny, and it sounds way off. I commented about Bowie's song over the opening credits, and as great as the song is, at least as it plays in the movie, it sounds ridiculously tinny. And I don't really know if that was done on purpose. Again, I don't know if that might have been a problem with how this thing was coded. I'm not totally sure. But what I am sure of is that, barring though those few scenes where the sound gets really tinny and really kind of messed up, everything else here in terms of sound mix is awesome. Lighting on all of our models is great. Our camera work here is good, solely focusing on all of the model work. And guys, when all is said and done, am I able to recommend When the Wind Blows? Yes, I can, but I do have to warn you, if you are not a fan of tragic films, depressing films, bleak films, films that are just going to make you hate all of humanity, then probably you might want to avoid this. However, if you're looking for a film that is an absolute masterwork from top to bottom in terms of writing, acting, music, special effects, camera work, lighting, everything about this movie is fantastic. I can totally recommend it. However, I once more do have to warn. This is probably one of the most depressing goddamn films I have ever seen. I'm going to happily keep it in my Blu-ray collection, specifically because, goddamn it, at some point I'm hoping that I can watch this and I can break down in tears and maybe I'll feel a little bit better having watched it. I'm still surprised, guys. I feel this awful. This movie is that tragic, and I can't fucking cry, and I don't know why. It feels weird, and it's making me feel worse with every passing second. Now, the thing about this movie, I mentioned the company which put out the Blu-ray. The company is called Twilight Time. The only way to really get this thing is to buy it directly from their site. The movie is $30. I'm going to tell you right now, if you attempt to buy it almost anywhere else, the price is going to be insane. And the reason is because the company that makes this, Twilight Time, they only put out limited edition Blu-rays. I honestly was kind of surprised to find out that they still have copies available on their site. So guys, Google it, look for it, and if you have $30, you almost owe it to yourself to buy this if you are a fan of amazing movies, no matter how tragic they may be. Now, as I said, having watched this film, I really want to go have a good, long cry. I'm looking at my Blu-ray shelf, and I see my copy of Grave of the Fireflies. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, that fucking Grave of the Fireflies is a very upbeat, happy, and chipper film compared to this thing, but I know that motherfucking movie is going to make me bawl, and I need that right now. I need some kind of emotional release after watching this, and I think that is the perfect film to do it. Anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.